podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
A big old Bloodline reunion full of revenge, reckoning, and pick another R. I can't think of one right now.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Rick Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Welcome to the Bad Blood recap here on the Wrestling is Real podcast. Let's go ahead and go through it because there's a lot of things to go ahead and unpack from the Hell in a Cell match, where hopefully maybe we have finally got an end, and we're going to put to bed the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud, which is 10 months in the making. I'm done with it. I'm done. They can't keep going back to this again. I don't know what you're going to do next with those two. And you know, I mean, what now? CM Punk will go ahead and does he go ahead and go after Gunther now after all is said and done? You still got Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is going to get a match offered to him on Raw on Monday night, and I don't know what else. Goldberg. So Gunther has a bunch of people to go ahead and deal with right now. What are they going to do with it? I already saw people already getting upset if Goldberg gets brought into the mix to take on Gunther. Well, I hate to tell you this, but it would not be a bad idea to have Goldberg come out and go after Gunther. Because Gunther needs some heavyweights. He needs some legends to go and work off of. I mean, Randy Orton was one, but seriously, as the World Heavyweight Champion, he's got to get some significant wins. Roman Reigns did the same thing. Seth Rollins had his own share of stars that he had to go ahead and beat while he was champion. Regardless, if you want to get Gunther over, you know, he has to show that he's gone through the table, and even those that are outside that could always vouch for a chance at the title, regardless because of their status. So you can go ahead and shit on it all you want and be upset. Oh, it's not one of the guys that Triple H expects you to. You were expecting Triple H to give you the people that you want, and Goldberg will be outside of the mix. It'll be a Vince pick. That'll be a Vince choice, right? That's why you got upset. My fellow podcast wrestling brethren, I know you're getting upset about that. I already see people getting a little, getting yourselves twisted in a wad. I get it. But that setup right there couldn't hurt. Now, then you have the Bloodline, a full reckoning going on, and a lot of players to put in right now. So we took a break on it. We took a good 6-month break on the Bloodline and everything that's going along with that. Because the new Bloodline had to go ahead and be established, and, the mutiny has gone on. It has not been good. Now we think it's a good time to go ahead and start injecting the original Bloodline that has come back from WrestleMania and start attacking the new Bloodline. Or actually, there's a split of the old Bloodline, and now there's a reckoning with that. A whole lot of confusion. Because when The Rock comes out, why he comes out for Bad Blood, I heard he was going to come out, but for what? I mean, we're going to set up Rock and Roman Reigns now? Is that what we're trying to do? Because I don't know what they're trying to do. All that's happening right now doesn't make any sense. It's very jumbled. It was hastily rushed. I feel like it's out of desperation that we get The Rock back now in October. Now, I don't know if this is something to do with Crown Jewel coming up in 4 weeks, that somehow, somewhere, we expect the Saudi Arabians need to be pleased and need to be happy about having, the $50 million they're going to be spending on WWE. Vince could bring back the whole cavalry, as he always does for part-timers, and then set up matches just to be matches. Well, so Triple H probably talked to the Crown Prince this time, and, yalla yeah, MC. Crown Jewel belt. We want Crown Jewel belt. And there you go. Yalla yalla MC. We have a Crown Jewel belt. So we have to deal with Crown Jewel coming up. Survivor Series after that. and Saturday night's the main event to wrap up the year. And then we're going to try to find our way to build up anticipation now for the Netflix run that starts on January 6th. Again, 90 days till Netflix, roughly. And then, of course, the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. And build up to all that. And one of the things I could tell you about Bad Blood tonight that was very significant, you could tell that unlike the other pay-per-views we've had so far that were the B-level pay-per-views, remember when they've been in international cities, London, Berlin, Toronto, when they were in Lyon, France, I mean, remember what we were getting in terms of the audience that was out there and like the hooliganism and everybody just being so excited and happy about it? Remember that? King of the Queen of the Ring, Saudi Arabia, they were going all over the place. And all these hot crowds coming all over the place, cheering on everything. And you could tell tonight was a 2-match show. And I'm sure that none of the audience, none of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren or the vocal minority out there, the fandom, realized that they finally felt down on this show because it was in front of an American crowd. Yeah, sold out, Atlanta, Georgia, State Farm Arena. But they cared about 2 matches tonight. Hell in a Cell and the tag team match at the end of the night. That's it. Not Nia Jax and Bayley. No. Not Damian Priest and Balor. No. And not Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. Like that middle of the night was rough. Very rough. And that's a problem. So with that said, we're now at the point where you've already finished a feud. And I hope in my heart of hearts that this is a feud that's finished. You couldn't have stretched and beaten a horse more bloody than you did with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. This should have stopped, I don't know, at SummerSlam? Like, I guess you could have just quashed it without having Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. We could have just quashed it then. Because that was the right time to do it. This right here, the next 3 matches we had after that, the next couple matches we had, from the bull rope match, right? The 4-corner match to this, not necessary. We didn't need it. But what are you going to do because I decided to go this route? It sucks. The match was good. They went over the top. And then you have to figure out, well, you're going to make this match go, over 30 minutes like it did tonight. I got to look at the timing about it, but still, you made the match go so long, and you're hoping, well, let's make sure we get the most out of this, and, everybody else is going to have to follow them. They're going to struggle to try to make something big out of what they did. And I'm sure they did. 31 minutes for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. I mean, those are 2 solid heavyweights. They are veterans. They've been around forever. I mean, I guess they've done quite a bit to kind of keep the feud going and fuel it. Like I said, the last couple of matches we had and the build-up to it didn't matter. Like, they crafted such a good job of the triple screw job on Drew McIntyre from WrestleMania into Backlash and all. That was great. I got all that fine with that. That was good. But everything else that was going on right now was just, the Hell in a Cell was like the predictable thing to do. For CM Punk to go and win it, they obviously have plans for CM Punk to go farther along and do something else. I don't know what they're going to do with him. But I guess Drew McIntyre is going to have somebody else to go and work with. They'll have to set that up. Maybe they're going to have some time off to figure that out with Drew. But CM Punk will move forward. If he confronts Gunther or whatever they're going to do, they'll have to figure that out. Nia Jax and Bayley, 14 minutes. This crowd was dead. It wasn't great. And for Nia Jax, this is the part where I'm wondering if there's something that tells me that with Nia Jax, because she has a little more free reign of what her character can be, it's obvious that some of these characters right now especially the women, they kind of get to go and be with how they want. Now, I'm not going to discourage anything. I'm just going to point it out. It's obvious that Triple H is trying not to ruffle anybody's feathers. He's trying to play nice with everybody. So the normal concessions that Vince McMahon would ask, like seeing Nia Jax or Piper Niven showing some skin when they are plus size women, let's just say that. And regardless of the fact that Piper Niven, I guess, probably has gotten herself in better shape, the same thing going for Nia Jax. So hey, appreciate yourselves. I'm not disputing that part. But what I am saying is this, is that when you're seeing Nia Jax out there and she's pulling on camel clutches and lion tamers and doing submission moves and trying to do some other moves where, she's doing Hurricane Ranas, we're stretching what the character has been. So Nia Jax all of a sudden wants to start working like a smaller wrestler. Meanwhile, she's been booked forever to work like a bigger wrestler. And, no matter what, she can lose a lot of weight. She's a gorgeous woman. I've said this for years. But either which way, it doesn't mean we'd have to go and change the fact that she's going to be booked differently. The thing is, when you look at what Bayley and Nia Jax are supposed to do, it should be that Nia Jax should be overpowering. And that should be the focus of the match. And some reason they didn't decide to go and do that. Bayley, I think everything that happened from Damage Control and after, I have not liked. When I evaluate it now after the fact, I just didn't like it. I guess I haven't liked anything that Bayley's really done since her return. And it's not like I didn't give it a chance. I just never really paid attention to it. But if I had to evaluate it now and how she came out after this, the Damage Control storyline, I think, hurt her. And I think right now, even when she was champion here, it was just a bit weak as a babyface. Not much to work with. And yes, I think that if she gets something to work with, I guess she's better. There was a bit of good where she had the rivalry with Damage Control to try to go ahead and, when she felt betrayed, which she was, maybe there's that. But I think there's much more that's missing. And that's the part I'm trying to go ahead and figure out. It's like there's something missing with Bayley, and she's just not there, not right. And you know what happens in this kind of situation? We already know that Triple H has a particular mindset when it comes to the NXT stars that he would go ahead and push forward ahead of Bayley. Because I think what happens now with Bayley is that she takes a back seat. And the back seat is because of the fact that Tiffany Stratton is obviously the focus right now. With the Money in the Bank briefcase, that was when people got a pop. Because they see her coming on down. They create the whole scenario that Nia Jax was about to get screwed by Tiffany Stratton because of the fact that she was somewhat passing along the briefcase over to the referee. If they go back and look at the footage, you can go ahead and deduce that. You could go ahead and suspect that. But, obviously Tiffany Stratton will go ahead and try to work her way around that. So, the match wasn't done yet. All this going on. And that was the part they wanted to go and build for what's coming up. Didn't matter. We got nothing out of this match. Nia Jax retains with help from Tiffany Stratton and the threat of the Money in the Bank briefcase cash in, and that's it. Damian Priest, Finn Balor did not care about this match. This is irrelevant Judgment Day grudge. That's it. I don't see anything about Finn Balor now holding on the Judgment Day. Listen, he's not World Heavyweight Champion. The storyline that he talked about in the promo leading up to it, that they put in before the match. I don't have the commercials popping up on my feed. I got the premium Peacock service. So I watched that part. And I remember watching some of the promos leading up to Finn Balor getting to this match here. And for me, it's like Finn Balor's case. I waited a year and I let you get comfortable. Bullshit. And I want the championship over you. Well, guess what? Neither of them have the belt right now. So what are we fighting about? Finn Balor, at the end of the day, okay, he's a tag team champion with JD McDonagh. By the way, he wasn't out there, was he? Was he out there? Because I think, oh no, maybe he was. I guess. I wasn't paying attention. I know Carlito was out there, but, what a non-factor. So the Stooges couldn't get the job done to help Finn Balor, and Damian Priest comes out with a win. Let's just finish Damian Priest with this whole deal. Let him move on to something else. Please. I don't know what you're going to do, but there's a lot of things you could do right now. I mean, you could go ahead and, when it comes to Drew McIntyre or Damian Priest, they need to have some other feud to work with. Something else. You know what? Braun Breaker's available. You want to do something with him? I don't know. And then Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, once again, I mean, it doesn't matter what the match is right here with the Women's World title. We know that it's Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley fighting over Dirty Dominic. That was what the whole feud's been about. And Rhea Ripley, even though that she lost to Liv Morgan, the whole idea is that Liv Morgan still has the belt. Rhea Ripley says it's the belt I never lost. Whatever. And meanwhile, Dominic Mysterio was a non-factor in the shark cage. They made a big deal out of that. He tries to come out and help Liv Morgan, but he gets stuck and he's dangling over the cage. So for whatever reason, Dominic Mysterio is a non-factor. He's just sitting there. He's a goof the whole night. And then Raquel Rodriguez all of a sudden comes back. But I had to go back and look and remember. So yeah, she was injured for a long time. I had to remember why. So I had to went back and looked. Okay, so the reason was, but they're going to have to explain this in storyline coming up. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were tag team champions. And it was July 2023 on Raw where they were scheduled to defend their women's tag team titles against Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. And Sonya Deville was also got hurt later on after that. But yeah, that tells you how far back this goes. Remember when Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green were a pretty good team together. And then Rhea Ripley attacked them both before the match. And that Rodriguez sustained a left knee injury. And while Rodriguez and Morgan still tried to compete in the match, they lost the titles to Deville and Green. And it was their second reign as champions after 16 days. So Raquel attacks Rhea Ripley, DQ finish of the match. So nothing's settled. That pisses me off. And now we're going to add another piece of the puzzle to get Liv Morgan back with Rhea Ripley to attack each other. So I guess that's a singles feud coming up for them. Liv Morgan's involved with this. Dominic is still involved with this. I hate it. Now, what you can do is Rhea Ripley going to have somebody, another woman that's going to have her back in this case? Are we going to get to that part? I don't know yet, but this is the part I want to go and figure out as well. I just don't like it. And it's kind of interesting when I was hearing, looking at Friday Night SmackDown and the fact that Chelsea Green and all the stuff they put her through. I mean, she's always paired with somebody, whether it's Sonya Deville or Piper Niven, and she does what she's told. I mean, there's a character there that's got personality, and she's got a lot of things that have always been right about her. Like I said, I remember going back, watching her as a Laurel Van Ness character. I just thought she can do so much. She's great she's really good in the ring. She looks great. Just as a whole setup. And for whatever reason, Chelsea Green's kind of just stuck here. And Chelsea Green does need to get elevated. But I mean, they have her in a comedy storyline. Is she going to get redemption now? Is she going to split off from Piper? Can she go after Nia Jax? What are we going to do with her? Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green would be good. Obviously there's a whole lot of animosity right there you could go with. But a lot of the women are kind of lost in translation. Bayley now loses in the storyline here, and I don't know what becomes of her, because she's been out of Damage Control, broke that off, screwed, lost her belt to Nia Jax after Queen of the Ring, and now Bayley's nothing. What do you do with her now? Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Naomi are out there for a minute, and then at a backstage VIP thing, and that's all we see of them. Meanwhile, we could have definitely seen them doing something there's so many women right now, so damn talented, not being used, underutilized like crazy, and I don't know why. Now on to Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. It's not going to be a long review. Like I said, there's stuff to go ahead and follow along tonight. Let's see what they're actually going to do with it. But getting into what they did tonight with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, not much to say much about the match itself, but they did go 25 minutes. So, they make a big deal out of Cody and Roman coming out. Everybody wants to go and speculate Roman coming out second to Cody. Whatever. See, the thing is, I'm not really worried about this whole setup of, the mega powers getting together. Because there's animosity between both of them. It's not like they're really working together well. And even in the start of the match, you make it a point of like, well, they're just kind of working out like each other like that. Jacob Fatu takes the bulk of the work because that's just how it is. I've already said many times before, Solo Sikoa is being used poorly in this role. I don't even know what to think about right now. The fact that we get Roman Reigns and he's in there. But again, Cody Rhodes does most of the work along with Jacob Fatu. And then you see a little bit of Solo in there. But for the most part, Cody's doing all the work. Roman has no trust. He wants the belt more than he wants Cody's help. That's the whole thing. Cody doesn't need to be part of this. Like, there's a whole point of this. No trust in Cody. And they got to make the point that Roman is going to trust his blood over somebody else outside of his blood. Because then ultimately, Jimmy Uso comes back. Glad to see him back. And Jimmy Uso comes out to assist on taking out the other members of the bloodline, which is the Tongans. And they're out of the way. And then it ends up where we get the pinfall. Done. And then we're at the point now where Jimmy and Roman are looking at each other as Cody gets attacked by the bloodline after the post-match brawl. Like, Cody's just looking like an idiot here. Cody gets beat down. He gets help from Roman and Jimmy to clear them out. And then Cody gets attacked backstage out by his bus by Kevin Owens. And it's after the show's done. There is no footage that we see in the press conference. I guess there was, but it was like security footage. And all I saw was a lot of the people, other media sources, wrestling dirt sheets that were there, content creators, that took shots and pictures of the footage of the actual attack, where it's just Kevin and Cody confronting each other, Kevin being the agitator, and then Cody's trying to defend himself, and then Kevin, unprovoked, starts beating down Cody and leaves him there flat. And that's it. But that's also not counting the fact that the final boss, The Rock, comes back after the attack. So Cody's there with Jimmy and Roman, and the final boss, The Rock, comes, says 1, 2, he counts with his fingers, 1, 2, 3, throat slit, and he walks back to the backstage. There's a whole lot that now we have to expect that creative is going to go ahead and weave a storyline for us to make it all make sense. You can do that. But right now, you have decided to go ahead and bring back the storyline arc of the bloodline. But it is very well fractured. Okay, this fairy tale is fractured. We do not have the complete bloodline back to avenge this new B-level mutiny bloodline. Unless they're going to do something where Cody and Kevin, but they thought that Cody and Kevin was going to be a part of this to help out. What I want is 2 other members of the family. I want this to be an all Samoan feud. I don't want Cody. I don't want Kevin involved. None of it. If you're going to give us a bloodline storyline, then keep it within the family. Because that's what I want. So all I want is, you want to make it where it's like Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, and then the Tongans taking on whatever kind of mix you want. And then you have Jimmy Uso, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns doesn't really do much of wrestling at all, but it's like it's Jimmy, and you find 2 others. Now, who that's going to be? Because we know that Jay's all caught up right now with the IC title, and they're not going to, they're not looking to go and recruit him back, or at least they're not making any point about it. We don't know anything of that yet. And again, Solo switched sides. So what are we doing here? It's 4-on-3, 4-on-2 right now. And we're expecting that Cody and Kevin or Randy Orton might get involved in this. Is that what we're supposed to expect? Because I don't see that happening now. And then The Rock is different because we know The Rock is not associated with the bloodline right now because obviously he is upset with Roman. It looks like that's what's happening. Because he didn't confront the old blood, this new bloodline. They were already gone. His deal is with Roman Reigns. So everything has to get figured out. And are we really going to go ahead and start doing this storyline now at the end of the year? That's the part I'm trying to understand. It boggles the mind that we're now going to go ahead and revisit this now in October. So are we getting something that's going to happen where we're going to lead this to Crown Jewel or Survivor Series or Saturday Night's Main Event? Like, what are we doing here? Because there are missing pieces to make this work. We want to have an even match. Do you want to get to the point where we get the Survivor Series? And, like, here's the question. So, The Rock comes out. I would prefer that he does not come out again until after Survivor Series, at least. Because I don't need to see him come back right now. I don't even understand why he came back now in the first place. So you want to set up Survivor Series, you want to make it the new bloodline against an old bloodline? Fine. But give me some other Samoans that come in here. Give me some other members of the family. Bring them in. Whatever they're supposed to be. I don't know who it's going to be, but do that. And then, I don't know what you do with Cody and Kevin. Obviously, I guess you guys let them wrestle now. Now this whole time of everything starting off with Cody and Kevin being best friends. And Cody, oh, here, you should have a title shot. So we're going to set up a feud now, a storyline, an angle, so that Cody and Kevin can fight each other now because Cody decided to open his big fat mouth and offer Kevin Owens a match because it's like, you deserve it. Make it make sense because it doesn't. This is stupid. But we're all of a sudden going to get this started up. Roman is still shorthanded. I don't expect him to expect that Cody can go ahead and help out in this case because Cody was the one that was battered down both times when Roman gets the pin and when Cody is beat down by the bloodline, of which Roman and Jimmy had to come back for the save. Cody Rhodes, your undisputed WWE champion, looks weak, looks foolish, looks stupid. Is that what you want from your babyface? Is that what you really want? I didn't even mention this too. With Gunther confronting Goldberg, I was all, my ears peeled out, you know, and my eyes kind of opened up. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here with Goldberg? And then Sami Zayn comes out to attack because they have their match on Raw. That's the way they end that segment. So much here that's confusing and doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel good. And it's not as if this company can't kind of put some storyline together to make it make sense. But it's such a quandary right now. I mean, obviously, we'll have to watch Raw and SmackDown to figure this out. But there's so much confusion right here. You have feuds that we have right now that are just kind of like, well, I'm better than you and this and that. Like, it's generic. It's very basic. And it doesn't help if you don't have that special audience that's able to go ahead and take any stuff that you put at them at a house show, no matter how much you make them pay. And then you build it up and say, okay, here we go. And the crowd just laps it up. Because that would have helped too if you had a crowd that was like the super hot crowds that are not American crowds. Like, sold out crowd, nothing. Atlanta is not going to go and get up and jovial because it's just like normal what they see. So you get this here, and it's like, I think they left all their excitement in the Hell in a Cell match, and they came back again later in the night because it kind of got shafted. Because think about it. If you had Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio, obviously they could have had, any international crowd could have had a field day with that. When you get Gunther out there with Goldberg, that also would have made some excitement. And then Bayley, they would have gone, I want to know, would you be my girl? Like, you would get all that kind of stuff going on. Like, so there's a whole lot you could have been doing where that crowd would have really made the aura, the atmosphere of the pay-per-view even better, which now we have to include that and bake it into how good the show was. Because what we got tonight was, again, you were sandwiched with two important things that were going on that were noteworthy, and then nothing else in between. And that's the part I'm kind of worried about here. So, in the meantime, this is a whole puzzle, a whole maze they have to get through right now. How are they going to book themselves out of this? It's one of those things where, under Vince, it's always like when you got some big main event or some match you got to set up, and you have to book your way around what happens because like there's an injury or something else that happens. Well, this is what they've done right now. So for the sake of returns, we get Raquel Rodriguez kind of just being thrown into the Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley's feud, which is still not resolved. And then you have the Bloodline storyline now, which now has a whole lot of broken pieces. So I'm just completely confused. C-level pay-per-view tonight. I want to know what they're going to do to kind of fix all, really get this back all together. I mean, the Bloodline's been very important. It's been very key. It's been prestigious. It's been booked very well. But now this is Triple H, Paul Heyman, Bruce Pritchard, whoever else that are completely involved in the storyline. No more Vince involvement. So now the Bloodline being left to hands, are they going to be capable enough to sustain the Bloodline and make it as good? Or are we just going to get something like that's about as lousy and disappointing as the sequel of Joker? Yes, I watched that last night. Very disappointing. Trust me, I understand why the numbers were so bad. And dare I say, I probably would go watch Megalopolis again than watch the Joker. Just saying. So, disappointed by that. But maybe they can figure something out. I'm holding out hope. Because they really need to figure out what they're going to do here, because none of this makes sense. It's a lot to explain. But hey, I guess if that's going to make you watch Raw and SmackDown, then so be it. Anyway, come back this Wednesday night for another Wrestling Observer podcast, because wrestling needs us.